This is going to be a really early start to the general election season. And we're already starting to see some of that momentum building up for the policy discussion, right? And we have the State of the Union on Thursday, where I think the president's going to telegraph some of his messaging going forward into this very long general election season. And as we approach the summer, which is the conventions, in July, you'll have the Republican convention there in Wisconsin, right, followed in August by the Democratic convention in Chicago, and then we'll immediately go into general election season. I think the big question right now is, are we going to see debates in the fall?
Okay, well, I'll go with all that, but I think there's a lot going on beneath, and I know California got the Steve Garvey. Remember him on first base?
Yeah, first base. Yes, first base, yeah.
He was ginormous.
Yeah.
And he did a ginormous day yesterday, I guess. But, Jen, what did you learn about, the future of the House off of Super Tuesday? Can you say tilt more Republican likely, tilt more Democratic likely? Which way does that go?
Well, I was watching some specific races, a little esoteric, but in Arkansas, you had some fights for some of your more traditional Republicans against some tight primaries to their right. Most notably Steve Womack, and he survived with a nice little cushion there. Looking into Texas, some of those races, you're going to have some additional primary runoff, so that's going to require some spend and money. But I think going into this next election day on March 12th, the Senate is looking really strong for Republicans.
And I believe after Duke takes the ACC and we have Selection Sunday, isn't there a Florida primary out there like within 2 cups of coffee?
That's right, Florida. And last night was Texas. These are the 2 states that are the most difficult states for Republicans, right? This Senate map is really advantaged for Republicans right now. So, right, if you think Texas and Florida are their toughest states, that that's not really that tough. While you have the Democrats defending a number of states.
So what if Haley drops out? Come on, we got to justify a road trip down there, Jennifer. Help us. What's going to be the tension of the Florida primary?
Well, look, Florida is a pretty ruby red state now. It wasn't long ago that it was a purple place, but it's a pretty red state. Now, I will say this, you had the Biden campaign sort of telegraphing expanding the map into Florida, which kind of raised a question mark over my head. I'm not quite sure how that's going to happen. I'm really, quite frankly, focused in on these battleground states. I'm after Haley drops out and we start this general election and Trump probably takes the delegates he needs by next week. I'm looking at Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. I am honed in on those states.
I'm enough of a fossil where Florida was actually a battleground state.
Battleground state.
See ya on that.
Exactly. All right, Jen, the Republican Party, it is the party of Donald Trump. My father, who would vote for Nixon today if he were on the ballot, would not recognize this party. What is the Republican National Committee, the apparatus, the machine, what does it do over the next 8 months?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we're seeing is Trump really consolidating his support there and turning over the leadership at the RNC. This will now be his RNC. He's putting his daughter-in-law at sort of the front face of the RNC, and then moving Chris LaCivita. He's one of Trump's co-campaign chairs and runs the campaign there next to Susie Wiles. He's going in and he's going to be doing a lot of the operational work at the RNC. Right. And what they will be focused on are those battleground states and getting really strong captains into those states to carry out the race.
To Paul's really important question, and I take your point, the leader takes over the party. That's the way it used to be. What's the Trump methodology in Pennsylvania versus Republican and name-only Mitt Romney's methodology in Pennsylvania?
Right. It's going to be focused on those suburbs, right? In the Pittsburgh area, in the Philadelphia area, and trying to raise those numbers. he clearly has a lot of growth that he needs to
Yeah.
make there with suburban women.